I started my career on Wall Street working with Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs across New York and London. 6 years and some success later, my one-third life crisis hit me, the ripe age of 28. And I began questioning everything. But the one big question that stood out was, what about the food that I consume and put into my body? And the larger question that emerged from that was, what is the cost of what we consume? Having grown up as a national level basketball player in India, food and nutrition were always very important for me to optimize my performance and my output. And so I began to explore. Well, I'd grown up in a Jain family with a very lacto-vegetarian diet. And as an athlete, I was always mocked for my vegetarian diet, because meat is often associated with masculinity and athleticism, right? So maybe I should start consuming meat, yeah? So first I started exploring, perhaps I should eat chicken. It's considered widely a white meat that's a good source of protein, right? What is the cost, though, that my body pays to consume this meat? And there is a pretty big cost that my body actually pays. Almost all of the chicken that you would buy at stores or consume at eateries around the world is loaded with hormones to make the chicken grow faster and bigger, to the point that they cannot even stand on their own 2 feet. Not just this, chicken is loaded with virus and bad bacteria that cause issues like salmonella. It's loaded with cholesterol. I also realize it has carcinogens. Eating chicken just once a week would increase my chance of liver cancer 9 times, whereas smoking cigarettes for 50 years would only increase that risk 2 times. Additionally, consuming only 50 grams of chicken once a week would increase my risk of pancreatic cancer by 72%. So I chickened out. Not going to eat this. All right, well, let's continue further. I thought maybe I should eat fish. It's lean protein, has omega-3 fats. It's an essential part of the Mediterranean diet, widely considered one of the healthiest diets on this planet. Again, what is the cost? And apparently there is a cost. I found something very fishy about fish. Fish absorb a huge amount of mercury and toxic chemical compounds from industrial waste from our water bodies and water streams. Consuming fish just once a week would increase my chance of liver cancer 3 times, essentially. Okay, so I'm not going to eat fish. Where are we going next with this? Well, perhaps I should just stick to my lacto-vegetarian diet that I grew up with, right? Again, what is the cost of that? Well, what you see there is not just a glass of milk. Dairy has 2 sets of hormones. One set of hormones are naturally present in dairy that are meant only for calf to grow naturally and quickly from a calf into a larger animal, not meant for humans. The other set is artificially injected into cows so that they can lactate faster and they can lactate more milk. Beyond this, milk is loaded with cholesterol and saturated fats, which should increase significantly my chance of any cardiac diseases. And it doesn't end there. India is the largest consumer of dairy in the world. And we are also the diabetes capital of the world. And these two are strongly related. The saturated fats primarily found in Indian diets through dairy have a huge link to insulin insensitivity. This is what's furthering the diabetes pandemic in our country. Well, who out of here likes to avoid antibiotics? But I realized that 80% of all antibiotics used in the world are used to feed animals. Only 20% or less of it makes it directly into our bodies through the doctor's prescriptions. So no matter what, if I consumed any animal-based products, I'm indirectly putting those antibiotics in my body. These antibiotics are going into runoffs into streams of water and our land, eventually reducing the ability of our medicines to fight emerging diseases on this planet. But the cost is not just on our bodies. The planet also pays a cost when we consume animal-based foods. If I were to ask you, what would you choose out of these in order to maximize your impact on climate change? I would imagine a lot of you would say, I'd buy an electric vehicle and reduce my emissions, right? I understand that. But what if I were to tell you, you don't have to spend lakhs of rupees in order to buy an electric vehicle, but simply focus on that plate of food that's on your table 3 to 4 times a day and have a much bigger impact on the planet? Let's see how. When it comes to greenhouse gas emissions, the biggest conversation piece related to climate change, animal agriculture alone emits more greenhouse gas emissions than all global transportation. Animal agriculture emits 50% of all the methane in the world. Now, 1 kg of methane is 80 times as powerful in trapping heat in our atmosphere compared to 1 kilogram of carbon dioxide. Furthermore, while the world battles with water scarcity, a single kilogram of beef takes 15,000 liters of water to be produced. And the equation doesn't get much better with other animal-based products, whereas plant-based products shine here, consuming much lesser water to give us the calories that we need. We all love the wildlife abundance around us. We care about the extinction of tigers in India, of elephants in the wild. But do we realize that in just the last 50 years, we have brought 50% of all biodiversity on this planet to extinction, primarily through animal agriculture, leaving only 4% of all mammalian population on our planet to be wildlife animals. 60% of all mammals on this planet are livestock like cattle, pigs, sheep, and goat. And a few thousand years ago, that number stood at 2%. It's not all bad. There is good news. The world has started bringing out great options for us to change our ways. A company called Impossible Foods in the US now serves Impossible Whoppers across 7,000 locations across the US at no significant premium to a regular Whopper. And it's completely plant-based and tastes exactly the same. That looks just like chicken, doesn't it? Well, that's good, because it is. It's made by extracting a singular cell from a chicken and growing the meat without the antibiotics, without the hormones, without slaughtering a chicken, and giving you the exact same experience as animal-based and slaughter-based chicken would. And by the way, that is not the future. It's the reality in the present. In the US, in Singapore, and Israel, you can already buy some of these products. And there is another technology named precision fermentation, which one of our speakers, Bharat, will soon talk about, which is used to create absolutely identical proteins to dairy proteins without the cost that one pays to the dairy industry. All of these 3 technologies present a 90% or more reduction in land use, water use, and greenhouse gas emissions compared to the animal agriculture industry. So after I learned all of this, what did I do about it? Yeah, I look a little different out there, don't I? I was in Silicon Valley at the time. I was working with Microsoft and a few startups. And I decided to change things up and completely switch to creating a sustainable food of future. I first created a company called Milk Guys, which would make all of these options more accessible to people across the 48 states in the US. I started a company called Alltex Ventures, through which I collaborated with the best of academia, government entities, large conglomerates, and startups across 6 continents, helping create this ecosystem and push this industry forward. Most recently, I serve as a chief investment officer at Ahimsa VC. Ahimsa VC is India's first and only VC fund focused on investing in entrepreneurs that are creating breakthrough technologies to accelerate us towards a sustainable future of food and materials while disrupting animal agriculture. India is already blazing the alternative protein industry. And not just this, top celebrities like MS Dhoni, Virat Kohli, Neeraj Chopra, our Olympic gold winner, and the celebrity couple Ritesh and Janelia Deshmukh are supporting, collaborating with, and running their own plant-based meat companies. And these are options available to you for even delivery within 8 minutes on your quick commerce platforms. Lastly, what is the India opportunity? India already has over 100 alternative protein startups, and we're exporting a lot of these products to over 10 countries globally already. The big potential here is that India can be the global manufacturing and biotech talent house, not just for our own domestic consumption, but for the whole world. I urge you to once again ask the question, what is the cost of what we consume? What is the cost on our bodies? What is the cost on the planet? And if I may, what is the cost on our karma as we kill 70 billion plus land animals every year for a moment of sensory indulgence? Well, you don't have to leave the country or the city to go try all of these options. You just have to leave this tent a little later, go to our sustainability pavilion, and try some of the best plant-based meats and plant-based milks the country has to offer right outside. Thank you for listening.